red cameras?
Yeah, red Raptors, you know, shoot in like 24-bit YCC.
All the frames. Give me all the
256 frames a minute. A second, actually. Not a minute.
Sorry.
That'd be pretty horrible.
It's really bad. That's not good at all.
Oh, you've never actually used SM7B before?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Teach me.
How'd you even get this job? All right, podcast setup. So I'm thinking right now we're using these little DJI microphones because I actually have the nice Shure SM7Bs somewhere in Colorado, but I don't know where they are.
They're doing us a lot of good in Colorado.
Yeah. So fortunately, I have a lot of Sweetwater credit that we can use to buy some gear. So,
but if you want to buy gear, don't go to Sweetwater.
Well, yeah, not biased at all. No, we love our Sweetwater. We love Uncle Sweetwater. He's great. He's a great guy. So did you know about this? The SM7B DB. They built one now with the Cloudlifter like built into it. It's not the actual Cloudlifter, but like I
don't know that I know what the Cloudlifter is because I'm not the podcast guy.
So yeah, you never you've never actually used SM7Bs before?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Teach me.
How'd you even get this job?
I know it was the church mic for like a solid 2 years there.
Yeah, well, it's still good for podcasting. It's kind of OG podcast mic, but you'd have to get a Cloudlifter because the mic has such a low output on it. So basically, it's like a active preamp that you have to like put in your line. And usually the Cloudlifters, I think you have to send phantom power to them to like help amplify it without extra noise.
So it's like extra preamp.
Yeah, but they built it into the mic. So it's like $100 more for this version versus the other 7 dB. So actually, this will be a cleaner setup because I'm thinking we've got the podcast microphones, and then I also have a Yamaha DM3D. So I have this little. This is sitting in here in the box. Haven't had any time to use it, but I think this will be a great studio console because we got all these. We get the analog ins. We could have some headphones too if we want to monitor what we're doing, right? But also because it's Dante, we could even probably get some AVIO adapters if we want to have that. Because I think it'd be nice to have. Do you want headphones for the podcast? I think it's kind of nice. I think it's kind of nice to self-monitor.
I don't love the video podcast look with headphones on. I don't know.
We could wear in-ears.
That's true.
Yeah, it doesn't have to look like wearing cans and stuff.
We could wear in-ears from a company like All Clear.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sponsored by All Clear. So we've got this console. I'll get it out of the box. I think this would work perfectly for this studio application. And then I think SM7Bs on just nice K&M microphone stands.
Do you want the desk ones that like you can move?
Well, I don't know if I want to sit this close to you. I think we could have a wider shot and we can get some like furniture.
Hurts.
I'm just saying. You know, or no, you know what? Let's go to you. You know what my favorite website lately has been Uline. This has been my favorite place to go. So they have.
The question here though is if you're shooting in our studio space is relatively small, you're going to have to be relatively close because unless you get a super wide lens.
Correct. Yeah, I think we could get. They have some nice like cables and stuff.
For your reference, we're on 28 millimeters right now.
Yep. You know, they have all sorts of table options here at Uline, and we could get those because I actually think, okay, we could still use this room, but I feel like we need a bigger. This is like a small little Home Depot desk. I think we need it at least a little bit more.
I put it together. Remember?
Yeah. This is a good workbench for like other stuff, but I think we want a bigger. Actually, like something like this, they have an adjustable height. It's also a lot less expensive than the uplift desks. So if we get like a 72-inch or a 60, this must be 48, right?
But can you like judge people as much if you buy this one as if you have an uplift desk?
No.
Okay.
No. This is down to earth.
The judging only comes from the uplift desk.
Yeah. But I think this could work decently well for us. It could be a flexible table. We could sit down. We could use it as a workbench. I kind of like that format because then we can just have our laptops right here. We could like Velcro our headphone amps like under the table or something if we just want to come and you headphone in, and we actually had that at the old
Are
studio.
those too skinny?
I bet they have.
You want
Well, they have a
you
30-inch
want
deep.
this format where
I don't
we're
think we
both
need-
facing the same direction, or
Yeah.
you want this format where we're talking to each other?
Oh,
Multi-camera.
I kind of like it. I think this feels good because then it feels like the viewers are kind of at the table with us, and then we're like, we could, if we were to spread out a little bit more, it'd help. No offense, but so I think a 60-inch or and then there's 30-inch wide, so $465.
They're just showing like the 24-inch wide ones, probably.
Correct. Yeah. I think I could click like this one, and it's going to give us like that's a pretty great table. I don't like the color that much. Those options.
Like the gray better.
It'd be nice if there was like, or even just like, I like the butcher block, but you're right, the gray would look good. Okay, so that takes care of like mics, audio, headphones, the audio side of the podcast. And our room's already treated thanks to Prime Acoustic. Prime Acoustic sponsors a lot of anything in the studio, pretty much sponsored by Prime Acoustic. Thank you, Prime Acoustic, so much for your Prime Acoustic panels. They look great. We got the slat wall.
We gotta hit the number of times we say their name.
Yeah, the Prime Acoustic slat walls and the Prime Acoustic wall panels.
By the way, if you're gonna do this with the slat walls, with the designs, budget 3 times as much time to do it as if you were just putting them straight to the wall.
Yeah, that's
from experience.
Matt complicating things.
Yes,
but it
looks
turned
good.
out good. Yeah, you, and shout out to Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan.
But most importantly, shout out to Prime Acoustic for providing the paneling for the studio. But it works. It's like, it sounds great in here. Yeah. We actually still, by we, I mean you, need to put the cloud panels up in here. Okay,
correct. And then by me, we mean Chris.
Okay, yes. Yeah, exactly. Is that why we're hiring people, just for you to do less now? So then there's these lights, the Nanlite PavoTubes. So I've had the version 1 of these for a while.
Yeah, the one that I can never figure out how to turn on.
Do we have one of these around here somewhere?
Somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah, but these are cool because they can add some nice like color backlight. You can just stick them wherever. I really like these lights, and we probably need another key light like one of these, right?
Oh, I was wondering if we want to go a little higher end with the lights and have stuff that's like almost even relatively permanent mounted in here, but stuff that we wouldn't necessarily take anywhere. I don't know, like actually
I still
go with
like
some
the
aperture
flexibility
stuff.
of. I guess you're right. If we know we're always going to position a room a certain way, I still like the ability of like having maybe stands with casters on them.
Yeah, that's
easier
true.
to move stuff around. Because I still want. I think I value the flexibility of how we want to use the space and not making it permanent arrangements either way. Because we'll do episodes like this, podcast stuff, when we're filming courses, when we're doing other tutorials, training for install crews and stuff like that. So I want that flexibility to kind of be nimble with the setup here.
I would like one of these big...
The Aperture Storm.
Just one of the... really just this type of a softbox overhead.
Yeah, they're just so big.
They are big.
I mean, they look good.
You're right. Ceiling.
I do like the look. You know, I do like the lighting look, though, the overhead look. Back in, again, the days where we had our Colorado studio, rest in peace, but it was a good... We had one of these Nanlites hanging, or not Nanlites, this is the Falcon Eyes circle light, and it was like hanging just above the table. I like the look of that. Like, light looks cool when it comes up from above like that.
Well, on these, and using, and I'm not screen recording right now, so you'd have to pull it up on your computer. But PUTUR. But this type of like this lantern look.
Oh yeah.
Overhead. Like
Which one is that? Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Because it's a really soft diffused light.
Yep. Yeah, we'll figure out like
that guy right there.
Oh yeah, that is really cool. Ooh, I bet it's really expensive too.
I'm sure it's from Aperture. But there are some less expensive options out there. They're just the most famous one.
Yep. Okay, so I feel like that kind of covers lighting, audio, acoustic treatment, cameras. So I'm open to the viewers.
Right? Red cameras?
Yeah, red Raptors, you know. shoot in like 24-bit YCC, whatever.
All the frames.
All the
Give me all the
256 frames a minute. A second, actually. It's not a minute.
Like,
that'd be pretty horrible.
That's really bad. That's not good at all.
What was I gonna say? No, I think we are going for simplicity. So right now we're just recording to the FX3, which is great, but we are too lazy.
A travel camera.
It's a great travel camera. It looks great, but we're actually thinking of getting some PTZs in here and doing just an NDI.
And if you're mad about it, sorry.
Well, no, I think because we're going for efficiency. So from the audio standpoint, because we have the DM3, it is it's got Dante built into it, right? And we can use Dante Virtual Soundcard to record that audio. And then I think we're just going to use Ecamm Live, because Ecamm Live is like a powerhouse of an app that we can record all the audio, you can switch video, you can do all the things. You can, I think, use a Stream Deck to like trigger things more easily.
Oh, now I'm in.
And we can do more remote guest situations.
Because you're already set up for Ecamm.
So what if you had a set of two? Okay, so well, back to the cameras. That's why we're going the NDI route, because a lot of these Canon cameras can do 4K over NDI.
Yep.
No problem. I actually think, I can't remember, can the 700s do even higher than that? Might be
I don't
killer.
think
overkill.
So.
But anyhow, we can have the flexible PTZ setups, and then also thinking through, I want to talk to the Savvy stands for PTZ. The company Savvy US, they have these cool stands. We could put the cameras on. They could be on casters, move around. They take up these stands, again, a little expensive, but we could do that, or just get some sort of tripod on casters. I just would like the ability to move the cameras around, and then they just have one Cat 6A Ethernet cable going to them for power, control, and video. Yep. And then so they'll just pop up on the same as NDI sources in Ecamm. It'd be super easy to produce.
Yeah, I like it.
So I think also we got some extra Thunderbolt docks around here. You could under table mount a Thunderbolt dock for producing the show, plug it into your laptop, and then you could like control the show from there.
Push all the buttons.
Yep. I think it'd be helpful to have, the thing is, like, we could even, like, with Ecamm, you actually can have a video monitor option too. Like, so we could have, and that probably could happen over NDI.
We could get an altitude LED wall.
Yeah.
Right there.
I'll check with corporate, see if they approve.
What about overhead if we're filming like teaching content? How do we do a good overhead camera option?
I think we could put like the smaller PTZ on a C stand, or we could permanently mount one. Again, I'd like the flexibility of the C stands, because I don't want to be stuck with one position with something.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good about that. So I've got, I think we'll start with this. We'll actually start with we're going to test this out with a 300, mainly because this is how much credit I have left at Sweetwater. And I'm just so cheap. I don't want to spend money on these things yet. And then maybe we could hit up Uncle Cannon too and be like, hey
Cannon, do you want us to sponsor a podcast video?
Do you want to sponsor a Prime Acoustic sponsored video? Brought to you by Canon and Prime Acoustic.
Perfect sense.
All right. I'm feeling pretty good about that. So you agree though? I'm gonna order these things today.
Do it.
I'm gonna hit up David at my rep and be like, hey man, what is going on here? I don't know what I just did to okay. I'm gonna hit him up and get that going. So I was thinking the other day, if I were to die tragically, it would probably happen in a church.
Dark, man. Just took a turn.
I was thinking about that, because I was like, I'm often in some precarious positions, like, but we safety first at Churchfront. We do.
I mean,
we're installing stuff.
Not that I'm hoping for this, but
how
do
ironic.
I get to take over Churchfront since I'm the only other
probably not
person?
Probably not. But the
Luke and Adam
you can help out.
that.
You can help out. Yeah, because I was thinking it's like, how kind of humorous / ironic would that be if it's like the Churchfront guy dies tragically in a church?
Yeah. I mean,
Especially if it was like I was trying to
falls through a
troubleshoot something
ceiling.
with ProPresenter too.
No, I think it's much more likely that you fall off a lift or through a drywall ceiling at some point.
Yeah.
Since you've already done
No,
that.
no, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Anyhow, well, I was thinking about that the other day, but we
If anyone's dying on the lift, it's probably me.
the other tragic death thing is like probably something in the ocean when I'm here surfing.
Yeah, there's little sharks out there.
Yeah, but I
There's
wouldn't mind
nibbles.
if I were to die tragically. Those were the two ways I'd prefer to go. Better than a car crash, better than a plane crash. Well, the stinking plane crash is happening lately. Unfortunately, we're on planes a lot too.
Yeah, thanks.
And they're like Delta. Delta had that bad flip crash, and then they had like a couple days ago a landing in Atlanta, emergency landing because the cabin filled with a bunch of smoke shortly after takeoff. Just
Awesome.
yeah.
Remind me, what's the carrier we fly to Melbourne all the time?
Delta.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Delta Gold Medallion member.
Perfect. So that earns you a front row seat to the plane crash.
I don't know if it earns me a front row seat. Yeah, I don't know if it earns me safety, making sure the plane's going to make it there on time. But
I had a teacher in high school
weird.
that said that the way he wanted to die is he actually wanted to die in a plane crash, but he wanted to know it was happening so that he could run all the way to the back of the plane and then jump just before impact and put his arms out so he could smack everyone in the head on the way down.
That's an interesting shower thought right there. Yeah, but I mean, dude, we looked at our other warehouse space today or yesterday.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance.
As long as it's not too expensive, but yeah.
Yeah, we're still waiting on like what the lease will look like. It's the same landlord as this place, but we will get we have at least two options. The other one's not bad. It just kind of feels like you're gonna get shot when you walk out into the neighborhood there.
But not bad. But not bad.
Fortunately,
it's a good shot
inside the warehouse most of the time. Really great rate on rent.
Do we give out,
But the more I was thinking about that, like, no, Kaylee was talking to one of our neighbors. She's like, yeah, Jake's looking at this other warehouse space, and she said it's on Avocado Ave, and the neighbor's like, oh, you want to be careful over there. I'm like, well, we're not that new. We're pretty new to Melbourne, so we don't know all the best areas.
I spent a year in San Bernardino. Nothing is that bad. So,
but I'm excited because in addition to making the studio space better, we'll have warehouse space. We can get we have so much equipment in here right now. I just want this to be a cool content creative space and / office for you and I, and then the other space will be like assembly, warehouse. We'll probably film a lot of cool stuff in there still.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. If we were to take the camera and wave it around the outside of this room, all of the neat freaks that watch this show would
even after all the time we put in to try to organize it.
Yeah,
we're we're already running out of space.
Yeah.
But
we didn't initially necessarily plan on building racks and stuff here, but it's kind of become a thing.
Yeah, it is because it's going to save us so much time when it comes to installs. We'll be able to really put a lot more craftsmanship into the rack builds and such.
And then pre-programming stuff.
Pre-programming, testing.
People don't understand that doing the installs we do, it's a solid day of someone sitting there on a computer just setting up IP addresses and setting up commands.
That's once the rack is assembled.
Yeah, once the rack is assembled. It's at least one guy for almost a whole day just turning stuff on and making it talk.
Yeah. So we'll do more about that. We'll do more of that here. I think it's going to make for some fun videos as we can kind of test out more systems here. Hopefully share more ideas with you guys here on the channel. I'm really excited about it. What else is going on? I'm going to Delaware this weekend for a little conference. I don't know how little it is.
Is that the one you're speaking for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. What are you going to
talk about?
The keynote idea is, I'm calling it basically like disruptive worship tech, where like, and I actually kind of use SpaceX as the analogy because, you know, we live here and we like literally every day we hear like the whole warehouse go, it was like shaking like an earthquake, and it's like
The
another
front
rocket.
door. It's those
Yeah.
garage style doors. It just does this for
Yeah.
a solid 3 minutes after launch.
Yeah, because it got me thinking, you know, before SpaceX started launching stuff, it cost like $55,000 per kilogram to get stuff to space. But now SpaceX does it, it's like a few $1,000s per kilogram, like 2,600. Like it's like a 20x improvement in costs to pretty much achieve the same goal. And I'm like, I think in worship tech, everybody's like, how do we get better results, audio, video, whatever, without spending this like 10x the money or what you see at these big mega churches. So it really is all about, in the same way that SpaceX kind of like broke space flight down into first principles and like focused on like what actually matters and what's the most cost-effective way to do all those things that actually matter. They brought the prices down. I think the same thing applies to Church AVL. Like you can still execute very well and sometimes even get better results with a less expensive system in the system you already have if you just boil AVL down to its first principles, and that'll get you probably like 95% of the way. Because I think like a lot of these things, there's an element where, yes, like I think there's certain gear that if you do invest into it more, like I would rather invest into better PA speakers and amps over a crazy mixing console.
Yeah.
Like, because to me, that's where money is going to make a more...
You did that at your Colorado church, so...
Exactly. Right? We have a cheap Behringer Wing console, and we have a very high-end PA, and now, like, could it sound a little bit better?
And now anyone can erase a show file
on
a good sound system.
Yeah, and could we get a better mixing console there and help enhance the sound? I think it would help enhance the sound, you know, maybe like another 5% if we got like a Avantis or D-Live or whatever. I feel like it's going to be pretty... people aren't going to recognize that difference. But going from like the old EV powered speaker system we have there to now having a really premium line array, like that's what makes the mind-blowing difference, even with a very mediocre mixing console.
Yeah.
Because actually, you know, I kind of felt that at Rock Harbor. At Rock Harbor right now, we're still using the budget JBL portable speakers, and hopefully that'll change soon. The church is growing a lot. We're figuring out capital campaigns and projects, and we'll get the PA situation figured out too. But we have an amazing Waves LV1 system there. We have tapped out the capability of this PA system.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. Yeah. This morning or this Sunday, I arrived at church. ASO's mixing, and it sounds great, but like it almost took my ears like the whole first song to adjust to how like kind of poor quality our speakers are, where it's like I think I'm starting to feel the nuance, especially because we're hearing all the nice systems we install with the Fulcrum systems.
Yeah.
And we're used to like nice audio, like from listening to my headphones. But like, I come in, I'm like, okay, it sounds balanced. I feel like I can hear everything going on. I feel like the mix is good, the room's treated, but like we're pumping audio through these budget speakers, and I don't feel like I'm hearing all the data that's actually there. And then as time went on, like nothing sounded harsh. Again, it sounded balanced. Like Asa did a great job. But I'm like, man, if we upgraded the boxes in this room now, it would blow everybody away.
So I was mixing Sunday, and we both our churches on a Waves LV1 setup, and so I'm mixing on LV1, and I'm fighting like this. It's almost like a harshness, right? Like just our speakers just can't produce these high volumes that they were designed initially. The speakers that are in there for a much lower volume, more chill service with the piano, and Michael Curtis talked about, or was it Drew or Michael? One of the guys talked about that at the Churchfront conference, that a lot of the old school PAs that we have in churches are
Drew. Yeah.
It was Drew. Yeah. Designed for, an organ and a piano and maybe a choir and a couple vocal mics. And there is significant difference. I used to use this scale that I actually talked about it at the Churchfront conference at the breakout that I did. But it's basically this on this axis, x-axis, is like how good you can make your church,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how much money you spend to make it that good.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think it was like this, where it like didn't climb until the very end. I'm starting to understand that no, it's a little bit of this though.
Yeah.
Like you can get a really good distance, and that's kind of what you're talking about with
Yeah.
you can get a really good distance into that quality line without going super high on the cost line. And I do think that that's what a lot of small churches need to look at. Having said that, if I do a talk ever, it's going to be someone needs to be the expert.
Yep.
Like you can't do that without someone being willing to learn, to dig in, to find the details, to watch the courses, to spend hours on YouTube, to learn how these systems work in order to maximize what you have.
Yep. I do think there's also an element of that where, yes, if you have a really well treated room, a really great, well tuned PA, the level of expertise required to have a pretty solid sound every week is like, it's probably lower, because when you're dealing with untreated room, a poor PA, it actually takes more expert to like make that even sound good, right? So there's so many different dynamics to it, but you're right. It's just like, make sure like, but I do think like, especially if your church is going to invest a lot of money into AV upgrades, like either you or someone on the team still has to be dedicated to the knowledge and knowing what you're doing. Maybe someday the technology is going to be here where there's some sort of like AI bot that lives in your system that can just do it all for you.
I was thinking that the other day, like Waves has got to be like creating an auto mixer as we speak.
We're probably headed for it. Like, I mean, all that stuff. Like, I think that's where it's going. I still think it's more enjoyable to do it ourselves. It's fun and it's a creative thing to do, but like, we're not there, and like, you still need to know your stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and every time something like that comes out, every time Waves comes out with a new, plugin or something to use like that, yes, there's a ton of things it can do, but if you don't understand a little bit of what it's doing, you could just as easily deploy it in a way that causes harm as it does good, so.
Totally. Let's talk about some cool products that came out recently. SLX-D 4Q Don. So we have Dante now on the SLX-D receivers, and the SLX-D, it's kind of like, I feel like it's the Honda of Shure wireless microphones. It's such a great, solid workhorse of a wireless system. Just a really great middle of the road option. I don't think we're never really speccing any of the models lower than that for especially the installs that we do. We've done ULX-Ds primarily.
Do the lower ones have antenna capabilities, or that's the level you have to get to do?
Yeah, you might be right.
Antenna, I think.
Yeah. I can't remember so many different models of them.
A lot of LXs.
There's a good YouTube channel out there where this guy went through like all the different models and levels. He does the audio comparison, and like after watching that video, it's like, yeah, SLX-D, I think it's the best value for your dollar in the feature set, and especially for churches. If you're not having like a gazillion channels of RF, you'll be fine with the SLX-D. So they finally have Dante capability in it, which is great, because now you can free up your analog inputs on your Stagebox or your console. If you already have a Dante card, it can just open up more opportunities there. I just, again, can clean up the integration of your system. Before, we had to spec the ULX-Ds, which are more expensive, higher end unit. The QLX-Ds, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with those, because if you go to the QLX-D, if we go to wireless systems, BLX, SLX, QLX, I don't think.
Do they even have a multi-unit model?
No. So yeah, the QLX-Ds are this weird middle ground between the ULX-D and the SLX-Ds. They're more premium than SLX, but yeah, I'm not really sure what the deal is with the QLX-D, but at least I'm glad to see they're leaning into the SLX-D, and I think this is also to kind of a reaction to Sennheiser's EWDXs with the Dante built in. The price point's pretty similar, so I'm pretty excited about that.
I do think this is interesting there were times where we would actually, it made sense to spec a ULX-D system if a church already had Dante, but because of sometimes how expensive I/O is. So if you're adding a ton of I/O, you're going into, especially if you're in higher end I/O from say Allen and Heath or something, it can cost so much to add 4 more preamps to your system if you don't have room yet. Like if you're working on smaller stage boxes. So the ability to do this and save all of your analog inputs, but still keep it in a much more budget range is pretty great. We've talked about this, but the real difference here, so if you need to spend more money, you need to spend a lot more money. It's the reason to get the ULX-Ds is so you could have a lot more wireless systems. So the average church that's only doing 4 to 6, maybe 8 microphones, this is a great solution. If you're doing 16 to 20 microphones, bad news. You got to go for the really, really expensive stuff and a lot of it. So that's kind of the differentiation between these and the ULXs.
Yeah, so they actually have the 4-channel version with Dante, and then they have a non-Dante version as well, and they have the dual one too. But here's the normal version for $2,400. So less money, you can still get the quad channels. And now, this is what we're gonna do at Rock Harbor, because we're gonna move our older SLX-D. I think we have the dual units there to a different space, and then now we can take 2 rack spaces and have them just be 1 rack space within that setup. It's gonna be nice and clean.
Especially because in your room, you're very limited on space.
Yep, very limited. I still got to get another rack there. There's still so much. Okay, speaking of Rock Harbor, we're going to move Churchfront Conference there this year. Woo-hoo! And that gives me inspiration now to be like, okay, let's try to let's push the integration at Rock Harbor to the next level. And partly because we need to support the infrastructure, what we want to pull off with our conference. But speaking
Why
of,
are we moving it to?
Because Florida's the best.
It's God's country.
It's God's country down here. Yeah, no, it's just we keep growing a lot at Churchfront, and now I was kind of going back and forth between Florida and Colorado, but we're building more of an infrastructure here in Florida now because it just makes a lot more sense. We're down in the southeast. We're so much closer to most of the churches that we're working with, and yeah, again, I would rather spend most of my time down here too. So it's kind of my personal preference. But we're building up the infrastructure down here. We're going to host the conference down here. This year, though, doing it at Rock Harbor, the only downside is we can't fit that many people there. I think 250 maybe max. Probably maybe we can squeeze 300, but I also don't want to overbook the space.
You don't want to have the fire department come down and tell you shut it down.
Yeah, I don't think our local fire department, they're pretty chill, but they're it's still I would just want to make it a fun event. Maybe the following year, there's plenty of large churches around here. We could host it at a larger space, but the amount of growth we've got going on as a company, we don't have the bandwidth to try to host a 1,000-person event or something like that. So we rather keep it simple, keep it fun. That's the goal. So if you guys are gonna get tickets, I would get them sooner than later because we have less tickets available than the amount we actually sold last year. I think we sold around 350 to 400 last year, and now we're gonna cap it at I think I have 200 right now. That's just literally half the amount of tickets.
Yeah.
So it won't even necessarily feel like conference. It'll feel more like mini conference or workshop thing. I don't know what we want to call it, but it's not going to be some crazy huge event, but it's going to be on the beach. Our church is half a mile from the beach. And then plenty of great places to stay around here. Should be easy for you guys, if you're trying to convince a spouse to want to come down. It's that'll be kind of a fun getaway, a fun time. So
November in Melbourne.
November
nice.
4th and 5th. Yeah, I picked November because it's kind of the tail end of possible hurricane season.
Yeah.
Once we get past October, I feel like the chances of hurricanes coming through are dramatically less. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time. Dante Virtual Soundcard came out with a pro license. So now you can have higher channel counts, 128 by 128 at 41 kilohertz.
Can I just say that I'd never want to have to mix down a project with 128 channels?
That's a lot. I mean, we're not doing ever insane projects like that, but there's some big churches out there, big productions. This could be handy. There's kind of a little kerfuffle about this being a subscription product. Now it starts at $100 for the first year and then $125 per year. Again, this is a common thing though. It's these software companies move to subscription models because you know, when Tim Apple comes over and he's like, hey, we're going to update our OS to like, you know,
We're
have
switching out our
compatibility.
processors again.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's like it takes a lot of time and effort for these software developers to like update the stuff and make it work. So they're doing a subscription service. It looks like for now though, the standard Dante virtual sound card is $100. I think the price
They
went up on
bumped
that.
that. Yep, they bumped it right before an onsite that we were on, so we had to break the news to one of our clients that, oh, hey, it's more expensive now.
Yep, and then oh, but you can do that's a transferable one. Then they
Yeah.
have a $50 single machine, and then they have a $20 30-day, which is kind of cool if you need like, hey, I just need this machine temporarily. But I like what Dante's been doing. I like the new look of it. It's cool. Whatever Audinate's doing to refresh their brand, like it feels like they're not stuck in the the early 2000s anymore with their software. But I will say, like controller
Takes
is
so
so long.
long.
Look, okay, controller. Oh no, actually, I still have old controller on here.
Okay, well, hold
Because I'm
on, I'll
like,
screen record
I'm
real
like, I
quick.
don't have the patience to do it. No, it's fine. But the new Dante controller, you guys have probably experienced it. You open it up and it's like super sluggish. Where like I'm not gonna update my old controller. I'm gonna hold out as long as possible. So anyhow, that's Dante. What else we got going? Waves. They have this big Titan SoundGrid
big
server.
boy.
Is this even new?
I mean, I've heard of the Titan, but I feel like it was maybe named something else, like the Titan R or something. I mean, all in all, if you're in the Waves world, which we are a lot, mixing on LV1 systems, if you're running a super high channel count on an Avantis or a D Live with a Waves card or Digico, you can max out processors fast with certain plugins. Like if you're running a ton of, I think it's the HVerb plugin is a really heavy processor one. Yeah, there's a handful of plugins that if you load them up, you will max out like their Extreme C processor. I think on our system we have just the normal processor, the C or whatever, the 1C, and then I have the older version of the 1C. And I'm running 32 channels, and I'm at like 50 to 60% on each processor. So it's possible to do a lot of channels without that. But if you're doing 64 plus, tons of 8 plugins a channel, that's the type of server that you want.
Oh, they have one for like with redundancy too.
Oh, that's what the Titan R is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But you and I were speccing a system the other day. I really think, and you've put in a Proton Duo before.
I have.
Haven't you?
That one, those max out pretty quick.
Yeah, but if you're just like, hey,
unless
I
the
just
newer
want,
one's faster,
just want a little bit of waves for like a little cherry on top of my mix, it's
Yeah.
probably for a lot of church systems a good option to go. And like you said, you could add on another server if you need it.
I had basically on the Proton, I had like drums, groups, vocal tuning, and then like outputs, main, broadcast. That's all I was really running. I was running at 65, 70% on those. So
Yep. Waves, please hurry up and ship these classics and the Ionics. Waiting on these stage boxes here, but notice the price on this classic.
Just bumped up.
It's nothing.
Oh, it's nothing. They're deciding how much to charge you.
Find a dealer. You know. You could find.
I did see. I think I saw it on Sweetwater for 8K. Was that what it was before?
So actually, this will probably tell me because Sweetwater, we're a dealer too, but like Sweetwater keeps up with this stuff probably better than we do.
Well, they immediately ordered some of these just to keep in stock.
Nope, there we go.
It jumped up. Yep.
So it is
$1,500
officially
for like the next 2 days.
Yep.
Like it was $8,000. It was $8,000 last week.
They increased the price. Yep. So we actually have 3 of these units coming in. One we already have sold to a client.
One we may have sold to a client. Maybe.
Well, maybe they're still thinking about it.
They're still thinking about it.
Here's the thing: they can't think about it forever.
No, that's true.
Whoever wants to buy it gets it first.
Whoever raises their hand
so
first.
we have two that are going to be in stock. Hopefully it'll be here by April. If you're listening to this, if you want one of them, let us know. And
we wanted to have one for training and stuff, but I would much rather sell it. So I think you
Yeah,
would definitely
totally.
much rather sell
No,
it.
we can sell it, and then we'll just go make
Order
training
3 more?
videos. We'll make training videos on it before we sell it, or we would go to the church. Maybe that. Maybe we'll do like some training videos, and then we'll sell it. You can
Sell it for
Then we'll charge more. We'll charge more for the one we trained on.
This one has been touched.
It's been it's been blessed by the Churchfront touch. Oh man, $25,000.
We might be overvaluing our services at this point.
Maybe that's a little bit of exaggeration. So, but yeah, it's more expensive now. So I think that was one of the things I'm like, guys, like, why didn't you? I get the pricing discount when you first came out. You wanted to like create buzz around it, but to me, it's like, it's
well, at 8K. It was about $3,000 less than putting a modular system like this together, I think is what I ran the numbers. And if you were going to get a server that was about the same level with an Axis computer, with a touch screen, with a fit controller, and what is the 24 channel SoundGrid IO box, it was 11 or 12 or something. So now the problem with this is now we're only $2,000 less, $1,500 less. So part of this is I do like that it's all one digital mixer, but it also means it's less modular. The thing about my LV1 setup at my church is if a server goes out, I can limp on one server for a couple weeks while I order another server. I want to upgrade. I have one server to upgrade. My fit controller breaks. I can use a touchscreen temporarily and get another fit controller, right? If this piece goes out, if something inside of this guy goes out, that's it.
I still think this is better for your portable situation.
100%.
And you just want something that's more tightly. But like when we're doing like the integration, we're doing it on a lot of permanent installs. I'm like, you're right. I kind of still like. I really like the modular system. So, but if you're listening to this, watching one of these, you should still buy one of these because we got them for sale.
It still is $2,000 less, but then it just gets into that thought process of like, do I want modular where I can swap pieces out, or do I need it to be one standalone unit?
Totally. Okay. Deck rack. This is cool. Shout out to Rylan Russell's channel. I watched one of his tech tours lately, and they showed one of these on a tech booth setup where you've got this company that's making these just like nice hardware pieces to mount your Stream Deck in a rack or a desktop, or even they've got like wall gang they call the stream panels, so you can put them in a wall unit.
Some of these are like, I really want to go get a 3D printer and do them ourselves, but
we could,
but it's also a lot of work. So
this is solid steel. So I think whatever they're doing, they have like
you can't 3D print solid steel yet.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Too bad.
Someday though, hey, we in our new warehouse we got room for like CNC machines and stuff. We could start making stuff.
I like these. I haven't dug into these enough, but I like the fact that this seems to be, so it's PoE, so it's obviously running. It looks like it comes with the
companion satellite
wall-mounted Stream Deck Neo, so it already has the Neo in it. Integrated companion satellite server. So it looks like it actually does run by itself. I think it does.
Wait, does it come?
It comes with all of that. Yeah, that's why that one's so much more. You look at the other ones, they're just, you put your Stream Decks in them. These wall panel ones are basically what I'm trying to build, I think. I'm looking at building something like this, but this actually might be a smarter way to even just go about it.
So did they put like a little Raspberry Pi in it?
I mean, that's what I think this companion, if you're watching the YouTube channel and you see this, by all means comment if I'm wrong, but it looks like, I don't know what companion satellite server is. I think it is. I think it's basically you log onto it remotely. Like I've done some research on doing it on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
And you log on from another computer. You just have the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. Mm-hmm. You go to that IP address with the correct port behind it, and it will pull up Companion on that machine, basically.
Yeah, totally.
And then you can edit your connections on that machine. And so it looks like that's what this is.
Yep.
And if that's the case for $250, I mean, I think I could build one for $100.
Yeah.
Ish, 150 maybe.
Well, that's what they're doing, and then you just mark it up.
That's without a wall plate. So I think by the time you're done, I think I'm closer to $200. So maybe I just need to order one of these. But
yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm impressed with these products. Cool stuff.
I think it's really cool for some of the stuff that we do, and this is why I'm the companion / Stream Deck nerd on the team, is because the concept behind like really creating systems that fully integrate everything that we do at a church, so that one panel can literally control everything that they need it to, whether it's a camera or some lights or Pro Presenter or all of the above at the same time, because you want to just fire stuff up. So
Yep. Another cool product recently released is the Patch LV. So Flock Audio makes this cool patching unit where you can do analog patching, and the brilliance of it is like you can have this nice UI, which is here somewhere. So it's like a nice UI to control everything in the unit. And then let's say you have a bunch of analog outboard gear you want to plug in, like compressors or L2s or whatever, right? This is kind of getting to big boy mixing here. But you can integrate it all nice and tightly and route things where you're actually, between your analog gear, it's all 100% analog routing, no AD or DA conversion happening. But they also have Dante connection if you still want to throw some Dantes in or out.
This would have been a very like handy tool for the church that I was last at in San Diego before I moved to Florida, Horizon Church. Shout out to them. But we had an L2 that we ran, something that often happens with those Blackmagic switchers. We know this is the inputs can be a little lower than you want them to be. So being able to run through a piece of outboard gear, a physical outboard gear with some knobs on it, like an L2. So we ran our AVO adapter into an L2. We had the AVO to AES because the L2 has the AES in it, the model we had. And then out of that into the switcher, and we were able to get a little bit more of a slammed mix in there.
They're not cheap though, that's for sure. The LV, $5,000, just over $5,000 for that. Oof. That's intense. So
that's
someday, you know what? If we really,
I don't think they would have said yes to that.
If we really make it, we could have one of those, and then we could just get a bunch of outboard gear just to look cool on camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we're podcasting.
Those Avalon, just gorgeous looking compressors.
Yeah. We'll just budget like, I don't know, 20 grand or so
for looks.
Just a flex.
Yeah.
Be like, hey guys, as I'm talking, look at my compressor VU meter, just flapping.
But then what you have to do is you got to make it so that the VU meter's not actually doing anything on your voice. It's just some random audio coming into it that's just making it the whole time.
You guys should head on over to Altitude LED Systems, sponsored by this bald guy right here, me. And but anyways, we've been installing a lot of LED screens lately. It's been fun. We haven't had time to make videos about them, but if you guys are looking for an LED screen solution at your church, if you're looking for an LED lyric banner ribbon for Pro Presenter, definitely check out Altitude LED.
You were very careful about how you worded that.
I want to make sure,
reason?
Just SEO, as people are searching for lyric ribbon banner solution panel screens. Sponsored by Prime Acoustic, of course. We want to make sure everybody knows where to go for them.
Mitch is gonna love this
it's actually
podcast.
funny. They came out with because Renewed Vision came out with their lyric banner product, which, in my opinion, completely 110% biased, is an inferior LED screen solution to the one at Altitude, because the cool thing about the Pro Presenter lyric banner is that they do have an LED panel product that they integrated the processor into it, so you really just kind of plug and play, give it a video input, give it power, and instead of having an external processor like a Novastar, it all happens in the screen. That's cool. For ours, though, we're okay, we want to make sure the screen itself actually looks good, and the processor integration, it's still very simple, because you're talking power and one data connection from that processor to get to the screen.
Yes and no. I mean, you're going to have to, here's the thing about the Pro Presenter one, is you're going to have to change that data to something else anyways, whether you're transferring it to SDI and then back to HDMI.
Yeah.
Unless your computer is literally living on the stage, which very few churches is, which then I wonder, and this is where I wonder, are they running it as a 1080p solution? Is it automatically cropping, the excess space if it's running at 1080p? Because you can't run custom resolutions like that over HDMI.
No.
So whereas if you were doing it, or not, you can run them over HDMI. You can't run it over SDI. You can't convert an HDMI to SDI without a whole bunch of really expensive equipment to make the
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
resolution the correct format. So whereas with if you can get HDMI directly to your processor, you actually can do some of those custom resolutions, and those are built in a Pro Presenter. So I'm wondering, it'll be interesting to see one in the wild.
Yeah.
I would love to see how they're managing that that data transmission from computer to the lyric ribbon that they're selling. But I would rather have, personally, I would rather have my processor, depending on how I'm doing it, but I would prefer it to be directly connected HDMI to the computer if it's not a standard 16:9 screen, because then I can actually run the correct resolution pixels by pixels. So I did a lot of this at the church in San Diego Horizon. We did a lot of custom shape screens and stuff, and we ran into that really early on, that we had to have the processor living by the computer if we wanted custom resolutions going directly to the processor.
Yeah. So all that said, the other thing about the altitude screen, so like the panel screen that Renewed Vision is speccing, it's a 3.9 millimeter pixel pitch. The problem with that is that even when you're displaying just text, even though it'll look okay with 3.9 millimeter pixel pitch in most cases, if you want to be able to fit some like different fonts onto the screen and have them show up as sharply and crisply, I don't know if that's even a word. Yeah. You know what I mean? We spec a 2.6 millimeter pixel pitch like minimum for that, and then you can actually stack more text on there, or your lyric banner, lyric ribbon is more just for lyrics. You can actually put content. Like when we went to Church at Vieira the other day to film the altitude one where they installed there, they actually were using it as a set piece when it wasn't worship songs. They didn't any lyrics. They just had like a sermon graphic up there or a logo or whatever. It's still a very handy set piece to have. And like if you have a 3.9 millimeter pixel pitch, like it just might look a little shoddy if you're putting things other than just big, bold, all caps lyrics.
Yes. Go to Renewed Vision's page for it real quick.
Yeah.
Because I found something interesting about the way that they were showing it. Go to the lyric ribbon guy. Where is it?
Video hardware? Oh, lyric ribbon. Right here. Okay, yeah.
So scroll down. Scroll down. There's some pictures of it somewhere or something, I thought.
You know what? It's really like, that is very big lyrics too.
Oh, it's in that picture. That picture looks like it's at the front of the stage. Right? Am I wrong with that?
It is. Yeah.
And honestly, if you're running a 3.9 pixel pitch, you don't want your lyric ribbon sitting anywhere near the front of the stage. That's something to think about. Like if you want the graphics to look really good, because if you're 10, 15 feet from a 3.9 pixel pitch, you will see pixels. It will look a little pixelated. So if it's the back of a 25-foot deep stage, yeah, it's probably okay. But then you're talking about size too, because the altitude LED one that you're selling is actually bigger, right?
Well, like, dude, even look at this picture. Like, again, I know it's kind of hard when you're like looking at, like, and sometimes photos do weird things with screens and stuff. But like, I feel like I can see the pixels on this photo from a long way away. So it's like, it's kind of, but that's what we're talking about, like using it as a set piece. So, yeah, they're partnering with this company for
Medico.
For Medico.
For Metco.
For Metco. So anyhow, it is so $6,500 for almost 12 feet. No, sorry, 10 feet wide by 1.5 feet. I think I priced it down around to be I want to say $7,800, pretty much all in for the altitude one, which is actually another 3 feet wide and a 2.6 millimeter instead of this. So like even price wise, the altitude panels are delivering a better product. I think the convenience of you have the processor built into it. Again, this is what I can't see the data on here. Yeah, maybe they don't.
But I guess that's my point.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe powered by standard, integrate seamlessly, just connect the HDMI, power up, and okay. So external, if SDI input's needed, we need an external adapter. So that's what we're talking about. So like,
yeah,
it is, I don't know if these are the actual
I don't think there's
connectors.
anything, there's nothing convenient about trying to mount a giant display on the back wall of a sanctuary regardless. Like you're going to have to figure out some sort of a solution to get your data there.
Yep.
So whether your computer lives in front of house or you rack mount at the back of the room and you run KVMs like we do in a lot of spaces, you've got to get signal to it, and HDMI taps out at 50 feet. So
correct. So, well, you guys make your own decision based on our unbiased opinion. Here, joking, totally biased, but it's fun. I like the fun of this.
I'm less biased than you are.
It's true. It's true. But still biased.
I'm still biased.
Okay. Dude, have we talked enough on this episode? I think we covered it all. This was a fun show. Let us know what you guys think. We're trying to like experiment with this format here with the Churchfront Show. I want to make it feel a little bit more relaxing, mainly because I just, I need that more relaxation in my life right now. And we'll try to do more of these kind of recordings in person like this. I'm going to try to get Luke and Adam to our office more often, but we can also do, once we get the infrastructure set up, doing remote in interviews and stuff. That would be cool. It'd be cool to do like call-in episodes and stuff with people. Like you guys could call in and have questions, kind of like the Ramsey style type of a show. As always, go to churchfront.com if you want to connect with our team. If you want to be on the wait list for crew members, go to churchfront.com/crew. And I'll say, like, I don't have any like specific job postings or application forms out there, but we are growing at a pretty quick rate. We are building a lot of infrastructure here in Florida to support a growing team. So if you want to live in the best state in the country, the best state in the world, really, by the beach, and work for the best company in the world, just put a little bug in your ear. If you're interested, you think you have, a skill set that would work well on our team. I still read emails that come our way, hello@churchfront.com. So let us know if you're interested, and who knows where that could go. But actually, the best place, though, is join our crew wait list, because that's one of the best ways for us to meet you in person, and then
you basically get paid for an interview.
That's how our last person got hired.
Yeah, you come out and work for us on the job, you get paid for that job, and you're getting to kind of rub elbows with us while we figure out if you're a good person to add to the team. So
pretty much. So thanks for watching. If you're listening on the podcast, please leave a review. Let us know what you think. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.